Hey folks, BlackCross here, and welcome to another video review. And today's video review, we are going to be reviewing Elden Ring. Now, there's a lot of stuff that I want to go ahead and talk about this game, because of the fact that I went into this game with almost zero expectations. Like, bare minimum zero expectations. Not to say that I didn't have faith in Miyazaki and them, not that I didn't have faith in From Software and Bandai Namco, but because of the fact of what it was hyped over. So, for those that don't know, a few years back, they teased Elden Ring with this cutscene and stuff, and everyone was losing their mind and stuff like that. And here's the thing, it was only cutscenes. Like, it looked nice, yes, I'm not going to deny on that, but at the same time, I was like, yeah, all I see is cutscenes. I don't even know if it is a Souls game. I don't even know what it is. All I know is that Miyazaki, George R.R. Martin, and From Software and Bandai Namco was working on this and everything like that. And it was one of those things where it's like, what is Elden Ring? And, you know, the majority of the Souls community and stuff like that were basically saying, it's a Dark Souls open world game. And I thought to myself, I was like, that sounds like a recipe for disaster. Like, let's be honest, okay? When you think of Souls game, the first thing you're going to think of is hard. And naturally so. They've always been designed around the concept of how difficult the game is, and how heavily demanding it is, and stuff. Record for most Souls veterans like myself and stuff like that, we've been kind of nulled by that factor, and we just kind of pushed through and was able to overcome the obstacles that From Software has developed over the years, you know? There's this Demon Souls, there's Dark Souls 1, 2, and 3, then of course Bloodborne, and then of course Sekiro, which is the exception of my case. Sekiro is, in my opinion, the hardest game that From Software has ever created. Not just because of the factor that it's not really a Souls game in the same definition that most people describe it. Gameplay-wise, yes, I would say it is definitely a Souls formula. But in terms of stat building and stuff of that nature, it's not really there. It's not really like how Dark Souls and Bloodborne had been over the years and stuff. It's definitely different. It's built around the concept of a single-player game, and it's skill-based. It is heavily skill-based, and I was kind of like overwhelmed by the factor that the skill in this game is amazing, and the gameplay is amazing. It's awesome, but I suck at countering, so that's why Sekiro to this day it's been difficult for me to beat it. So whenever I went into Elden Ring, I was sort of like, okay, so what's it gonna be like and stuff like that. That was until literally the beta came out, the network beta test that people started doing and stuff like that. And I was a little bit late, sadly. I did not know that they were doing this, so I never got around to it. But then again, the only thing I've ever done in terms of beta, live beta rather, was Neo, with his alpha and beta. But whenever people showed off the videos and stuff like that of them exploring the first section, I was like, this is the first section. This is the first section? Like, at the time, I was a little bit underwhelmed and all. Like, yeah, there was a cool concept of exploring dungeons and stuff like that, and I was like, okay, yeah, I can kind of see this now. Then I dove into Elden Ring. Finally dove into Elden Ring. And I have to say, whatever expectations I might have had and whatever expectations other people had, completely blown out of the water. Just completely nonchalantly, you know, everyone was playing Elden Ring and stuff like that. And then the entire From Software Miyazaki team and everything like that was like, okay, you ready? Let's blow this whole thing up. Let's just go everywhere and just make them realize that the map is a lot bigger than they think. And, you know, after like 10 or so dungeons and stuff like that, you go, okay, there's quite a bit of stuff in this and everything. And then, you know, you defeat the first set of bosses and everything like that. And by bosses, I mean mandatory bosses, which I'll get into that detail in just a sec. But you beat the first set. Then you realize the map got bigger. And you go, oh, there's more content. And then you beat that set of bosses. And then the map eventually gets bigger, and you go, how much is in this game? Like, I was literally thinking to myself, I was like, okay, we're already at the end game, aren't we? And it's like, no, wait, the map's getting bigger. What the heck? It's just, the map just kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and the more I got to explore the world, the more I got to explore different dungeons, hidden bosses, and stuff like that, the more it became more massive and more bigger and larger and stuff of that nature. And I was like, how? How did they stuff all of this into one game on first release? Okay, no DLC, first release. This game is packed. It's got a lot of stuff. It's got a lot of face spells. It's got a lot of magic spells. It's got a lot of fire spells. It's got a lot of dragon abilities. It's got a lot of different types of weapons to use. Strength, dexterity, archery, staff, spears, all sorts of different weapons and abilities that you can literally get within just 50% of the game that you open up. Just 50%. We're not even full on deep into it. There's so much stuff that is in this game just by exploring. And I think that's something that From Software did well. Miyazaki himself did well with the fact that they incorporated the idea of like, okay, yeah, you've got the main job, you got the main thing that you gotta do. But why not deviate from the main path? Why not go through a few dungeons? Why not see what other bosses are available? Why not go on ahead and see what happens during the nighttime? Nighttime bosses! Like, what? Really? There are different scenario bosses and they're all optional? What? I mean, yes, record, there are some duplicate bosses, but they all function slightly different in some form of way, you know? Like the Knight Riders, there's, as far as I know, there's like 4 or 5 different Knight Riders with different weapons and stuff. They all function the same, but they all got different range and weaponry and stuff, and it's like, holy crap. And yes, some of the bosses are sort of like late enemies in the game and stuff like that, but they do function in terms of boss quality, considering the fact of how the game is built around and when you encounter them and stuff. You know, yeah, in the late game, you do encounter them as regular enemies, but for the time being right then and there, they feel like actual bosses. And so I can't stress this enough whenever I say this, is that they did wonderful with Elden Ring. They did wonderful. They had a set formula to go along with this game, and it works. Okay? I know a lot of people have made an argument and stuff like that. They've argued about it back and forth, and it's been argued about since, like, practically since Demon's Souls came out, and that is, should video games be hard? In a sense, yes, because they have to present a challenge to the player and stuff. Yes, there are some games that can be allowed to be easy and stuff like that, and there's nothing wrong with that. But for what the formula of the game demands, the formula that is demanded in these games is to present a challenge. And From Software has mastered this. They've mastered this for several years now, and has perfected the art since then. And Elden Ring is the perfect formulated game to display difficulty. It is perfectly difficult considering what you can do. It is perfectly difficult considering what you're able to achieve. It's only hard if you just go straight for the end game. Like, no side questing, no exploring, nothing whatsoever. You go boss, 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 end game. Like, that's it. That's your main target. You don't bother going to when in reality, that's not what the game was built around. It was built around the ideal of being able to explore the world and see what other stuff you can find. Yeah, you may start off as like a samurai, but you may come up with a mage. Yeah, you may start off with like a strength build, but hey, you may end up wanting to do a bleed build. And that is something incredible. There is so much to this game. This is literally like the final product, if you will. You know, where you had Demon's Souls as like the alpha. PlayStation 3 Demon's Souls. Not PS5, but PlayStation 3 version. You had the alpha. Then Dark Souls was more of the beta. And then Bloodborne became the light bulb that was like, okay, I think we got what we got going on here. I mean, you think about it. You think about how long Bloodborne has been talked about, you know, with the chalice dungeons and stuff, you know? People loved going through all of these random chalices that are available in the game and stuff like that. The different assortment, the different bosses and stuff like that. They loved doing that. And so they literally was like, okay, a lot of people love these chalice dungeons. So why don't we take the dungeon concept and put it into Elden Ring? Which is awesome. It works. It surprisingly works really, really well. And not only that, but they also was able to create another form of formula, which is the advancement of difficulty bosses. So you'll play through the game, you know, you'll go through it somewhat well, but then you'll encounter like one difficult boss, one boss that's really annoying you. So then you think to yourself, you're like, okay, I'll just come back to this later. There's still so much of the world to explore, I'll come back to this another time. So you go off deviating and everything like that, you go off and explore, you may uncover some different weapons, maybe some better armor and stuff like that, and you'll level up your character better, you know, you'll start earning more souls, runes in this case, you'll earn more runes and stuff. And so then you go back to the boss that you previously had trouble with, and you're able to beat it. That is the concept of Elden Ring. You're stuck on a boss, guess what? Go grind, right? In Elden Ring is, got stuck in a boss? Guess what? There's still like 20 or 30 more dungeons you haven't explored yet. Maybe there's something in there that you could find. Or hell, you can get more runes that way. And here's the thing. You'll get to a certain point in the game where literally you can take down anything. Okay, like literally you can take down anything at all. And yeah, the main path gets harder and harder. But you'll just go through different dungeons. And then all of a sudden, you'll uncover optional stuff. Optional bosses. Now here's the thing. I want to categorize the bosses in Elden Ring. You have the dungeon bosses, which can be varied up in some form of way. They're small, tiny little bosses. Sometimes there's even some giant monster bosses. But overall, they're somewhat sub-bosses. They're not like mandatory bosses. They're just sub-bosses. You know, some of them are like enemies. Some of them are like random creatures and stuff like that, but they're bosses at the end of the day. Then you have the optional bosses. These optional bosses are just as amazing and drastically insane as the flippin' main bosses are. And I kid you not whenever I say this, there's as many optional bosses as there are main bosses, which is insane. Okay, I just went out and just kept exploring as much as I could while I was stuck on one or two particular bosses, and I was like, okay, I'm kind of stuck here, but let's just go off and see what else I can find. And I found so much, and I was like, how much did they pack in this game? Like, I kid you not, they literally packed this to the rim. It's like, oh my gosh, I just cannot comprehend this. There is so much stuff to do in this game, and it's a repetitive notion. I'm going to keep saying that. There's so much, but there is so much stuff to this game. It is insane. There's so many optional bosses to encounter. All of them are fun and entertaining to fight. Yes, they're hard, but hey, at least it's better than being stuck on a single boss for like 100 or so times, not being able to get anywhere, right? You're exploring, you're allowed to have a break, and then when you come back, you're a better built character, and you're able to finally press through forward and stuff. That gratification, that satisfaction, is the same satisfaction as you would normally have in a Souls game, where you got stuck on a single enemy or stuck in a single boss, and you finally beat it, and you're able to progress through the main game and stuff. It still feels that same way, except instead of grinding for hours on end, you're just out exploring. You're out exploring the land, you're out exploring all the dungeons, you've found a whole bunch of different stuff, and you're able to press through in the main game. There's just so much content built in this game. A lot of it can be missable. Because here's something else interesting. Improve jumping mechanic. Not just through your steed or anything like that, just the base character himself can jump better. Jump better, jump higher, be able to jump enough to where you can just slam your axe or slam your sword on an enemy and stuff like that and crush their bones and everything. It's improved. But because of that, the platforming. Can you imagine platforming in a Souls game? Most Souls players would go, no, there's no platforming in Dark Souls. You don't platform. You do, you die. In this game, there is platforming. And oh, they are hidden well. There are ledges that are hidden at the edge of maps and stuff that you go, oh, there's a ledge there. Wonder where that leads. Go on that ledge. Sure enough, there's another dungeon or another optional boss or something like that. Again, the endless possibility of what this game can provide is endless. It is so insane. And I cannot describe this enough. Another cool thing that I love, and it was something that I discovered whenever I was playing through this game. So, I start off as a samurai, and I was going to build my character around a strength build, because I was like, you know what, the way I fight is just go straight forward to the boss and start slashing at it and stuff like that. So it's like, let's just build a strength build, you know? Makes sense, right? It's simple. You just add points to strengths and stuff like that, and you can carry heavier weapons and stuff. Makes perfect sense. But then I started to realize, wait just a moment. My default sword has bleed. And I didn't realize this. I did not realize this until I was fighting against the first official boss in the game. And as I was fighting him, all of a sudden a huge chunk of his health disappeared. And my mind went, wait, is bleed improved in this game? Like, has bleed actually been improved in this game? Because Bloodborne was probably the only other game where bleed was actually effective. Dark Souls 3, though yes, it was fun to get different types of weapons that can feature bleed damage, it wasn't as effective. Now, when I say not as effective, I'm not meaning towards PvP. No, I'm talking about towards bosses. I'm talking about towards enemies and stuff. You know, you can hit an enemy with a bleed weapon 100 or so times and nothing happens. They lose a little bit of their health still, but they don't get that sudden, all of a sudden, beep, 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 there goes that much health. No, it's more of a dee, 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 and you're like, just bleed out already! In this game, bleed is more effective. Bleed is so much more effective in this game, and I love that. I love that so much. And there's even more weapons geared towards bleeding. And I'm like, this is so freaking awesome. I finally get to build the bleed build that I've always wanted to build. And there's so many good weapons that work well with bleed damage. There's so many good weapons. Oh my gosh. I mean, people who have built bleed builds and stuff like that could probably tell you this is the best game to have a bleed build. It is so cool, so awesome. And so much of it is so deviated towards upgrading that weapon to the max. And then depending on the weapon, if it has a built-in weapon art, or you can change out the Ash of War. Now, this is something completely different in this game as well, is the fact that you get what's called Ashes of War. What this does is that you can equip it to a single weapon, and it can do a number of things. Not only in terms of increasing its overall output damage based on whether you go for quality or strength or whatever, it can also do other status builds. For example, there'll be some weapons, there'll be certain Ashes of War that increase poison dexterity, some improved in terms of frost dexterity, and in very few cases, improve in bleed dexterity. So whenever I say the phrase, definitely invest in these Ashes of War when making your character and stuff like that, do look at these Ashes of War, because they will actually be more effective than you think. It is insane to believe as to how effective these different Ashes of Wars are, and I love it. Again, this all coincides with exploring, you know? Go out and explore. Go out and see what all you can find, because there may be some stuff you didn't even know existed. Again, we got spells, we got weapons, we got Ashes of Wars, and we've got spirits. So again, a new thing added into Elden Ring, spirits. spirits can help in a lot of ways. So let's say, for example, you don't have a good online connection and stuff like that. You can't summon anybody. Now here's the saying, in traditional Souls faction, if you do summon somebody, the boss's HP grows, It's more of like a 1.5 increase, I believe is what it is. So it's one of those things where the enemy becomes harder because you got that many people involved helping you. However, by summoning a spirit, the boss's stat is not increased. And yes, Record is an NPC, but much like with any Souls game, you only want to summon the NPC for distractions. And that's what these summons can be used for. Some of them are really helpful, some of them not so much. But there's some really good legendary summons that can be summoned up, and they are really good. I won't spoil as to what they are, but the community knows what they are, and oh, they come in handy. Oh, they are so good. But the start now spirits are really good in their own right. Like the wolf ones that you start off with, the jellyfish for that fast sample as well, and there's many more. There's so many spirits that can be attained within the first part of the game. In fact, you can get the spirits as early as before the first boss, and it's so insane. Again, the layer of detail, the layer of stuff that you can do in the game just does not stop, does not end. It is so good, it is so gratifying. And there's so much to this game that I wish I can tell you, but I don't want to spoil anything. But I will say one thing is this. The bosses are top tier design. Yes, I know the sub-bosses are subpar, they are designed to be sub-bosses. They're dungeon bosses, so they're not meant to be over the top, they're not meant to be over dramatic or anything like that, they're just bosses. They're just bosses that you find in a dungeon. But the optional and main bosses, holy crap, do they know how to build them. They are great. Even some of the more, according to the community, some of the more bullshit ones are actually some of the more cooler ones that I've actually fought. In my personal opinion, there's not a bad one in there. Now, Record, are they some that are difficult and hard as hell to fight? Agreeable, yes. But they are all wonderfully designed. They are all fun to fight. They're all unique. And in my personal opinion, that's all you really need. In fact, there was a meme that I encountered before Elden Ring got released, where it was like, what if I'm not the greatest game? What would that make me? And the other character is like, you'll be a great Souls game. And that's all most players want nowadays, is a good quality Souls game. And coming from Software and Miyazaki, that's all we want. We just want a good quality build Souls game. And Elden Ring was over that. It was not just about being a Souls game. It was not just about being a good Souls game. It was about being something different. Something unique. Something that you normally wouldn't see in a Souls game. Again, platforming, summoning spirits, changing out the weapon art abilities, which is the Ashes of War. All of this, dungeons, unique bosses, this overarching map to explore. The endless possibilities are there. It is so insane as to how amazing Elden Ring is. Which is why rating this game is going to be difficult for me. It is going to be difficult for me because of its difficulty. So let me stress this right now. Whenever I say this, this is not meant to be a everybody game. This is not meant to be an everybody's game to play. This is only meant to be for people who are well experienced with the Souls formula and are looking for a new and unique Souls experience. And that is this game. It is a unique Souls experience. An open world Souls game. Didn't think that was going to happen. But here we are, 2022, and we've got it. Which is why I'm giving Elden Ring a 4 out of 5. Again, mostly in terms of the difficulty. A lot of people will not be for that. A lot of people will not enjoy that. But here's what I will tell you. If you're willing to invest a little bit of time to explore the world, to find unique weapons and stuff, to explore the first section of the map, just explore. That's all you gotta do. Just explore. No need to kill everything. No need to try to grind for runes or anything like that. Just explore. And you'll come to find that you may be able to build a better character than what you thought you could. Maybe there might be a boss that's easier than the one that you're currently fighting and stuff. Is it hard? It's meant to be hard. It's a Soulsborne game. What were you expecting? So yeah, in my personal opinion, it is definitely worth the game. So definitely check it out if you ever get a chance. But if you're not familiar with the Souls formula and you don't like hard and difficult games, don't pick up Elden Ring. Unless you're prepared for that challenge. That's all I can say because of the factor of how it is. That is how it's built around, and for the Souls community, they've got it. That's what they want, and that's what they've got. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching this review, and I shall see you in the next video. This is BlackCross signing off. Catch you guys later.